Now what I'm going to go over is a number of setups to be able to get you in to get the single initially. Then shortly thereafter we'll be going over some finishes. There's a bunch of different kind of initial setups you can use. I'm going to show you a few of them. Of course, this isn't all of the setups that you can use, but this hopefully will get you started. First is a simple forehead tap. I'm in this position. I can tap with the same arm I'm going to tap with, but if I do that, it's crucial that I'm not bringing both hands up, because if I do, old Colby here is going to attack me. So as I approach Colby, and if I'm going to do this type of an attack, I'm ready for him coming in here to be able to block, and this elbow is in. So I'm going to attack, I'm going to set up by giving a pop here, and then when I come in, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to come in with my head. Of course, for mixed martial arts situation, a quote tap can be a lot more aggressive than it can be in some of the grappling type arts or wrestling. Now the other way you can do this is with your rear hand. You can forehead tap with your rear hand, and I can pop here as I come in. Notice though, it's very crucial that as I tap here and I'm stepping tap, attacking in, this hand's following up right away. This hand isn't dangling up here because it started out high. It's vulnerable to Colby being able to block if I'm not quick. So my elbow needs to stay in, and when I tap him, I need to follow up right away. So here I tap here, and I come through. So it's important that I'm quick with that follow-up hand. I think both of these methods of attacking or setting up are fine. With the first one, my opponent catching my rear hand is, I'm not quite as vulnerable. On the other hand, once I've touched here, I've got more distance to travel from his head to initially secure his leg. Conversely, if I'm using my rear hand to tap, I'm a little bit more vulnerable to being caught in here if I'm not quick. On the other hand, this hand is very quick, right? Very short, is in a very short distance to his leg right from the get-go. So the distance I've got to travel is a lot less. So just be aware of the advantages and disadvantages of each of those types of setups. Both are valid, both are good type setups. Likewise, you can use a head pop or a head rake. I can use the head pop or the head rake with the front arm. Again, being cautious as I approach my opponent to make sure that he can't attack. When I say being cautious, making sure that that rear arm is in a position to defend. Or I can head pop or head rake from the rear arm. And again, the advantage here is that the attacking arm is closer. We'll go with the forward arm first. And the rear arm. If my opponent is posting straight-armed on my shoulders, I'm going to pop up, come around, and drive in. So from here, I can't, if I come here and I just come through, he's still pushing against me, so I've got to get underneath it, and then I come in. I get this to to where my hands are cupping right above his elbows at the bottom of his triceps, and I'm not so much trying to push up so much as just trying to get him so that I can get underneath it. And then I'm going to attack. Now remember, as discussed in some of the prior instructionals, it's crucial that I get at the lower part of his tricep above his elbow. Because if I don't, if I'm below his elbow, as I come up, it's no problem for him to block. So I need to get above the elbow. Again, if I don't, if I'm further here, further down, he's going to defend. So he'll defend, and I'll be unsuccessful. So again, it's crucial to get right above the elbow here. Conversely, be aware too that you have your best leverage being as far down his tricep as you can be, because there's no joint from here to here. Whereas if I try to block here, this is much more difficult. So I am going to try to get as close to the elbow as possible, but I just can't violate the principle of going beyond it for fear that Colby will be able to flex his arms and defend. Sometimes your opponent will be pushing with one arm. Now, if Colby was having a straight arm here, I'd just do the same thing I did a moment ago. Pop from here and attack. There's no real difference if he was simply posting one. Okay, that doesn't really make a difference. My technique is pretty much the same. If Colby is approaching me with a bent arm here, kind of pushing into me, what I'm going to do is I'm going to chop his arm. And as we discussed in an earlier DVD, I want to lower my level at the same time. I don't want to chop my arm and then lower my level. I want to use my weight, one, which helps me chop the arm and get the arm down. Two, by lowering my level at the same time, I'm saving a step and I'm going to be quicker in my attack. So I come down here. And notice now, when I chop, this arm gets very close to the leg I'm going to attack. And I just want to follow up from here. So Colby is blocking against me, and I'm going to come in. Lower my level at the same time I chop, step in. Conversely, if Colby had double arms bending against me, and again, he's approaching me with his right foot, which mirrors my left foot, so it's very unfavorable now for me to try a double, like we did before, coming down and then double leg. I can do the single the same way with both hands. Another possibility to attack a single leg is when I have inside control. We had discussed before the advantages and disadvantages of this position versus this position being somewhat better when you're trying to defend against your opponent who's pushing in, this position being somewhat better when I'm actually preparing to attack. It's important to be able to feel comfortable with both, and it's just simply a matter of being able to learn how to shift your thumbs when it's appropriate. And that's just something you develop from experience. Now, if I have inside control, I can attack a single leg. I want to keep my level low. When I attack a single, I don't simply want to come from this position to attack. I want to give him a quick pop to get a reaction, and then this arm comes straight down in a line to that leg. It's not going to come here. It's going to come straight line. And I'm not gonna come back. I'm not gonna come. It's gonna come in a straight line. The next thing that's important is this has to follow up right away, because if it doesn't, Holby is going to beat me in that position. So follow-up is crucial in this setup. So I'm going to lower my level and pop. And then from here, I'm going to come in. This hand is quick in a straight line. This hand also in a straight line as well, and just a millisecond behind. You can attack a single leg from an elbow jam, although you end up having to do it a little bit differently. I might be hand fighting, popping Colby's head here. And if I feel a little bit of weakness here, I'm going to try to do two things. One, I'm going to try to jam his elbow. And when I say his elbow, if I'm jamming his elbow, his whole tricep should be pretty much closed in to his body here. So I'm going to trap his arm, okay, to his hip or his lower part of his abdomen. And you'll notice too when I do this, I don't want to jam the arm right here, and not even right here. I kind of want to jam it slightly in towards his center line here, because that's going to give me a little space to attack, particularly when I'm trying to get the angle. Now the difference, once I get the elbow jam, so I'm going to be hand fighting head, popping his head. When I jam, notice my foot goes at pretty much the same time, and I try to get an angle. In other words, I'm not going to jam and come straight in. I'm going to jam and kind of come slightly to the side. Now, I could from here come to this position, but that's more awkward, especially if I've already been able to get his arm past his midline. My hand is already past his leg, so I'd have to pull it back and get it around. Possible I could do that, but I feel more comfortable from this position, just blocking here and changing my grip. So I'm going to jam, hand fighting, head popping. I see that opportunity. I get to the side slightly. I'm going to come in again. This time now you'll notice my head position, because of my angle, isn't at his pec here. It's more at his upper part of his lat. My goal is still the same. I want to get his weight on this far leg. But notice it's the inside hand now, and I'm going to push from here. Then I'm going to transfer, and I switch my grip the way I like it here. You could keep going this way. I don't think that makes a whole heck of a lot of difference, especially because you're going to be trying a finish that we'll discuss shortly. But my point here is that in this type of an attack, consider coming with the opposite hand inside as opposed to the other hand outside.